Hey, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for listening. If you have seen or heard of any listing being dated or over 30 days old at this point, we're starting to get concerned about moving that property. We're seeing price reductions or affordability improvements, as I like to call them. We're seeing those more and more and more. In fact, if you search through MLS on price reductions in your price reductions tab, you'll see a massive amount of price reduction. So what does that mean, right? Jump right in. It means that the homes, I don't know, we're overlisting the property, right? To begin off with, maybe some false expectations as far as what the market's pushing for right now, or it's not understanding what buyers are looking for in a sales price. And I'm going to answer that question for you right now. Buyers are not looking at the sales price. They're looking at their payment. They're looking at their monthly affordability. They're looking at their cash to close, and they're looking at if they can get qualified. So those are the top three things the buyer is looking at. They're not looking at whether the house is 376 or whether it's 367. Trust me, they're not. They want to know how much money their monthly payment is going to be and if they qualify and how much money they need to bring to closing. So that brings us to seller credits, right? So if you want to incentivize a buyer in lieu of discounting the sales price, here's four really easy ways to incentivize a buyer. Okay, the first one is a temporary buy down, also known as a 3-2-1 or a 2-1 discount. That's going to be where you temporarily lower, the seller would pay to lower the buyer's interest rate. So for example, the rate's 7%. A 3-2-1 buy down would buy that rate down, let's say 3.3% the first year to 5%, and then to 6%, and then to 7% over those staggered 2 years, right? So they're prepaying the interest as a cash figure at closing on behalf of the buyer to give the buyer a lower start rate. You can also provide a lender credit to buy down the interest rate to a fixed rate, right? So instead of it adjusting, you're buying down a fixed rate payment, a lower monthly payment for the life of the loan. That can be a huge incentive. It can also help somebody qualify for the loan with a lower interest rate where they may not have at a higher interest rate. The third way to use a seller credit to benefit a buyer is to simply give them cash at closing as a seller credit to be applied towards closing costs and or prepaid items. And that's just your standard seller concession that would just take the closing costs off the table as a cash credit. Depending on how much the closing costs are, of course, the buyer would be limited to potentially 3% seller credit or a 6% seller credit, or in the case of investment property, a 2% seller credit. But nonetheless, get with your lender on the details regarding how much, but the benefit is you can physically pay for the buyer's closing costs, and that's a huge incentive on two equal homes where one seller is offering to essentially pay all or the majority of your closing costs and the other seller is not. I would tell you that a lot of buyers are going to lean towards the home that's going to give them that cash incentive. Lastly, the seller credit can be used to pay off the PMI or to prepay the PMI. It's just another creative way to give a monthly savings that you can use to qualify. Okay, so when you have a PMI buyout, you're going to use that monthly payment as your qualifying payment for the debt to income ratio. That's a great, easy way to discount the buyer's interest rate for a really strong decrease in their monthly payment. Get those calculations from your lender or contact me, of course, because we do all of the above on these seller credit models. Okay, so sometimes you got to get creative, guys. It's a tough market out there, so we got to stand out. Everybody's got to stand out. So if you're a real estate agent working with a dated listing, or you're working with a buyer making an offer on a dated listing or any listing, and you want to make an offer inclusive of something that's going to benefit your buyer, those are four easy ways to do that. All right, call me if I can help. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.